actual tooth? Did he lose a tooth?
Pop rocks, bro. That was the first thing that I felt in my mouth after that exchange. And I was like, oh shit. That can't be my tooth, right? Um, yeah. So it was my tooth. I spat it out like you saw in the video. And then I ended up going to the ER to get things checked. And once I got to the ER, they did all this stuff. They asked me the questions. They checked if I had a concussion, if my tooth was okay. And then they saw that the pulp wasn't exposed. So they just suggested that I went on to go get a crown, which I went on to go do. And then it started getting infected. And then I ended up having to get a root canal through that crown, which was a whole thing. Whenever I got the root canal, I was too lazy to get the filling to cover the root canal because they gave me temporary filling, and it just took me way too long to go and do it. So what I ended up doing instead, while I was waiting to get that tooth filled, I just ended up doing Olympic fencing at my university. So that was really fun. It was really cool to see how HEMA transitioned over to Olympic fencing, and I'm sure vice versa. But anyways, what ended up happening was that we stabbed each other at the same time. I went for a thrust, and then he went under my arms and then stabbed me upwards, and then it pushed my mask in. And whenever the mask got pushed in, it hit my tooth, and then my tooth shattered. But yeah, definitely an expensive lesson for HEMA that day. I definitely should have binded with the blade first before going into the thrust, or at least being mindful of the positioning of his blade, because I think I actually did try to do that. Like whenever I thrusted, I tried to bind with his blade when I went for the thrust. But what I didn't realize was his blade was in my outside line, and I was thrusting as if he was in my inside line. So that's what gave the possibility of a double. But ever since then, I decided to focus a lot more on working in the bind, having proper structure, and fencing in a way that's very safe to myself. So I've been relying a lot less on thrusts unless I know that I can be covered with those thrusts, or I can be guaranteed, or I know that the opponent that I'm going to be fighting against is someone that's going to deal with my blade first before dealing with me. So less doubling is something that I've been focusing a lot more on. And one of the ideas that I've been embracing a lot more is grappling, and especially after the Arto Fama seminar that I went to at Columbus United, I've learned that grappling is a really convincing way to show domination over an opponent. So especially for the judges, it's very convincing. On top of that, it keeps you really safe because you're controlling the blade, so if you control the blade, how could it possibly cut you? And also due to the fact that we're not doing takedowns, grappling can actually be done very, very safely. As long as you take it slow and controlled, it's something that can be developed relatively safe. And it's really helped. And I've been doing a lot more experimenting with cutting positions, finding yourself in positions and binding through those. And then also just getting creative. And it's really cool to see how simple sword fighting really is, to be limited with only a couple cuts, but the way you apply them is really where the art shows. So that's something I've really been focusing on, even if it cost me some fights. It's the process that I've really been focusing on more so than the results. But yeah, as someone who's been doing martial arts and combat sports for most of their life, I think having this kind of mindset will be very important to be able to continue doing these sports in the long term. It definitely applies to HEMA here. But yeah, that's the end of the video. That's basically what I've been thinking. That's what's been on my mind, and gonna be uploading some more videos soon. And thanks for watching.